Every time I remember this event, I cannot stop thinking about it for hours on end, and I need to talk about it. I'm an adult now, but at the time of this happening, I was in the 6th grade, year 6 or 7, I believe, for anyone in the UK. If you are in the United States, chances are you might remember the clown sightings that were happening in 2016 during the presidential election and leading up to it. For the most part, it was a bunch of college idiots dressing up as clowns and scaring people in public, but overall, not too harmful. However, some places had it worse than others. Unfortunately, my old friend and I had one of the more negative encounters. It was early evening. The sun had began to set, and I was staying with one of my friends at their grandparents' house. We were walking around their neighborhood in the nice weather, just hanging out like we typically did. At that point in my life, I never would have been able to just go out with a friend and walk around the neighborhood when it was beginning to get dark if I had been at my own house. So we were enjoying the freedom. But that's when we noticed someone standing at the end of the street beside us, just watching. Obviously, this would be scary to anyone, let alone two 12-year-olds. We tried to ignore him. We sped up and walked the other way, but he followed. We turned a corner and realized he wasn't too far behind. So we gave up being subtle and started to run back to my friend's grandma's house. And the clown ran too. Luckily, we hadn't gone too far from the house. And when we got inside, we locked the door, closed the blinds, and ran to tell my friend's grandma. Only issue is she had been sleeping, and she didn't believe us for a second. At the time, both of us only had iPods. I don't think either of us had a legitimate phone number, so we frantically asked my friend's grandma to call 911. She refused, still not believing us. And instead of grabbing the home phone and doing it ourselves, because again, two 11-year-olds, we didn't want to get in trouble, we ran back downstairs. Sneaking a look outside, we realized the clown was on the porch. And that's when we saw he was holding a knife. We, at that point, also ran to get a knife and a baseball bat they'd had. And we sat terrified as the grown man tried to open the front door. Perhaps one of the scariest parts of the night was when he realized he couldn't open the front door and began to walk around back. I can't fully describe how horrifying it was, watching him and realizing what he was about to do. So we both ran to the back door, locking it before he could show up. And he did, attempting to open that one too. We were quite literally in a standoff with this jackass, dressed like a clown for hours. Until, like idiots, we both exhaustedly fell asleep on the couch after it had been a while since he'd made a sound outside. I remember waking up before my friend, still with a knife and bat between us, and slowly peeking out from behind the window curtain to see if he was still there. And he wasn't. I never saw him again, and we never really spoke about it again either. I was too afraid to tell my parents because I was worried they wouldn't let me hang out with my friend anymore. And I can't imagine my friend really told anyone else either, after the dismissal we received from the only adult in the house. I was just a child, so my fear was eventually, thankfully, replaced with other asinine middle school dramas. But I look back on that today, knowing that there is no way of knowing what his true intentions were. Was he just another college kid being an ass and trying to scare two little kids? Or were his actions proof enough that he was more sinister? That he had worse plans than he was able to carry out? I'll never know. And with everything I've experienced, I can say with confidence that there is nothing more terrifying than human beings.